Welcome to the Live from South College podcast. I'm your host, Kathleen Stockham. The Live from South College podcast is your source for all South College activity, including new student information, deep dives into our 100 plus programs and concentrations, tools of the trade, and even live on location from all of our campuses. Great interviews with faculty, staff, deans, and hear from South College students and alumni in their own words. From certificates all the way to doctoral degrees, catch up with Live from South College for the lighter side of helping your dreams find direction. Well, it took a little time, but we have her now. If you are a fan of the podcast, you will recall her in episode 2, laying out for us the struggle and devastation at her campus after a once in a generation hurricane and flood. She left you riveted with a tale of isolation, fear, and uncertainty. Well, she's back, and this time she sits atop the academics here at South College. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the microphone Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Danielle Kwasnik. Hi, Dr. Kwasnik.
Hello. Thank you so much, Kathleen.
Yeah, so excited you're here. It is a pleasure to have you back. And this time it's from a different office right down the hall from mine, which is exciting. So let's talk about it. You are the chief academic officer, which means all academic directions and decisions pretty much stop at your door. How you doing so far?
Hey, doing great. It's a really exciting role to be able to have such an impact on all of our campuses and our students, and really looking at things from a student first mindset, and also from a mindset of supporting our faculty. So it's an exciting opportunity to be able to impact even more lives than I have been at our campus locations when I was in Asheville and Atlanta. So being able to do that is just such an honor.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, as you mentioned, you come from the Asheville area as the campus president, and again, interviewed you just about a year ago for something else entirely, as I mentioned. So you're very seasoned as a leader. So, how different is the chief academic officer role? And of course, the best news is you don't have to issue weather delays anymore, right?
Yes, yes, yes. It's amazing, and while it's different, it's exciting because it kind of goes back to the roots of my career when I was teaching as and working as an associate professor, faculty member, and program coordinator. So it takes me back into an area where I think I'm a little more comfortable to be able to be impactful on academics, and having direct connection with faculty and students. You get to do a little bit of that as campus president, but it's a much more greater part of the aspect of the role of chief academic officer. So it's different in kind of the content of my day-to-day activity. The decision making is also, like I mentioned, just the greater impact. In Asheville, I was at our smaller campus, so we had about 600 students. In Atlanta, I was at the time one of our larger campuses, and now I have the opportunity to make, like I said, a greater impact on close to 2,000 faculty, full-time adjunct, and our staff that support our academic roles, as well as, over 16,000, 17,000 students as we keep growing. So it's different in the content of like I said, the day-to-day activity, but so exciting. And I don't have to deal with numbers as often. From a true academic and a writer and a dissertation leader and someone that was really into academic writing, budgets and numbers were not my strong suit. I muddled through it, but I don't miss that. I still have to do a little bit with numbers and data analytics, of course, but my day to day is more focused on curriculum and, like I said, what we can do to better the experience for our students.
Yeah, yeah, the spreadsheet thing is just an unfortunate side effect of leadership. I hear you on that one. So you have to level with me here. You see students all the time, possibly in the elevator, in the hallway, and so when you introduce yourself, do they stand up straighter and look scared?
No, not really, and I'm kind of glad for that. Hopefully, I try to be inviting and engaging, and I always try to ask what program they're in. And I'm fortunate coming from an academic dean role here at South College. I know a lot of our programs. I know their curriculum, so I really know kind of where they're at. If they're in a certain week, I know what that they're taking a lot of exams, and really just try to kind of constantly give them that confidence that they need. It's so easy to get discouraged when you have a big test or, for me, a big
Mhm.
project due, right? And I myself can be a procrastinator, so I know what that feels like to come in kind of at the last minute feeling a little bit of stress or anxiety. So I try to really meet the student where they are at that moment. So if they're kind of in a happy mood, I just try to find out, hey, what's the good of the day, right? What's going on? And
Mhm.
if they look
Mhm.
stressed, I ask them what program they're in. Do you have an exam today? So it's always my favorite part of my job is to engage with students and faculty.
Yeah, I agree. It's the best part of my day. I see students in the elevator all the time, or if I'm over at Parkside, they're hurrying from one side of the building to the other. And I always have an opportunity to engage and I always talk to them. And instead of staring at my shoes, I will be like, hey, got a test today. And they'll always, it's so funny. You can always tell by their body language and they look at you sheepishly and they're like, yes. And I'm like, come on, man, you can do it. You're here. Let's go. Let's make it happen. So
Yeah,
I
I
don't know if it
oftentimes that's something actually, Kathleen, you brought something up that I shared with someone yesterday, and I think it's something that differentiates South College and who we are, and it is that from the front desk receptionist to the chief academic officer to the dean at the campus or campus president, we do talk to our students, and they know who we are, and
Mhm.
it's not like that at every institution. And I think and I hope that our students recognize and feel that caring and support that they get at every level of our organization.
Yeah, it's funny. We've been combing through student testimonials here lately for a project, and that comes up frequently that students really love the experience because they don't feel like a number.
Yes.
And their instructors know who they are. Their other clinical advisors and other advisors know exactly who they are. And I love that. So that is a constant theme. So let's turn it a little bit. What's been the best part of your role so far in this first year?
Wow. I think, for me, I'm very much a change agent, which can also be frustrating for some because I want to create impactful change everywhere and every day. So I think, looking at what are the short term and long term needs of the institution and how can we impact every single student or every single faculty. So really that's how I kind of stage my projects in a way. We have some things that are, you got to put out fires every day, but
Oh yeah.
what are things that we can do that can truly impact the greatest population and truly every single student? So how can we make their lives a little bit easier, a little better? How can we, and if it's updating a handbook or creating a new intranet for our faculty, staff, and full-time and adjunct faculty, all of those things, again, I look at it from, okay, as I look at my project list or things that I would like to accomplish, some things will impact 5 people and some things would impact 5,000. So my goal is to impact 5,000 or again, anything that I can do that can help and benefit all of our students or all of our faculty and staff. That being able to create that impactful change that everyone can feel. I think that's an important part of my role and something that I like to accomplish.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's kind of interesting. I see a lot of smiling faces sitting in your office when I walk by, and you've recently hired some really great people to round out parts of your team. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I say this all the time, and culture is important to me for an institution, an organization, a building, and in my office. And I know I want to get up every morning and be excited to go to work, and I hope that everyone feels that way. I don't think there's any reason not to have fun at work or be happy or,
I
so
agree.
yeah, so I really work hard to make sure that, and sometimes we're dealing with the hard stuff but also within an hour-long meeting, there's no reason we can't take the 5 minutes to kinda cut up or laugh or talk about our personal lives so that we can kind of maintain that connection. That's a really important, I think, part of my day-to-day is kind of creating a very positive environment and positive culture, and it's important for me personally, but then also hopefully that impacts others to kind of see that excitement and feel that and know that it's not just talk. I really try to walk the walk of how I live my life and how I manage and lead, and hopefully that everyone else can feel like, okay, we don't have to just grind every minute of every day. We can have a minute to just kind of laugh about something silly that we experienced or really just work through problems together. That's another big important part, and it's an important part of who we are as South College is that we are a very, very, very supportive culture with peer-to-peer collaboration, and that's something, in my role as chief academic officer, I think it's an exciting part. I have seen and believed in that need of that inter-campus collaboration, and so it's something I work towards. So I'm oftentimes when, having meetings, it's, "Have you talked to, your colleague at in Atlanta or Pittsburgh or online?" So it's kind of that just reminder of we are part of such a large organization, and it's so exciting to be here. And those reminders of who we are and how we impact lives and how we truly do help dreams find direction. I think it's real. Again, it's not just a tagline. It's a great tagline, but it's not just that. It is what we do and who we are every single day.
Yeah, I love that. And just to kind of dovetail a little bit to what you were saying a few minutes ago, I agree with you. I think there are definitely pockets of fun to be had for sure. And I also love the fact that we're kind of searching for those moments of levity. But what I also love about our environment is when that person is having maybe not a great day or something maybe not so great happen, there's always this ocean of arms that will seek you out to give you a hug, to reassure you, and to say, hang in there. And I love that. And I've had it happen to me. I've been able to do that for other people. And that is one thing that I really do love about our environment is even in the tough headwinds of the day and maybe something that isn't going so great, there's always somebody to say, you know what, it's okay. You got this. And I love that. So anyway, we'll move on. We have so many brand new students at South College, and that you alluded to it earlier. Our student count grows and grows and grows. We always have new students and new faces coming in, and we just keep growing. What is your advice to all students, regardless of program or location, on keeping the faith to keep going even when it gets tough?
Yeah. I think a great piece of advice that I would like to give is don't take shortcuts. I think we are in such a time in life where we want things instantly and we have instantaneous access to so much information. It can feel like a shortcut will be the easier way. And my biggest advice would be to put in the work and the time. We take a great deal of time, energy, and effort to ensure that you have strong curriculum, strong faculty, believe in the process. I can tell you everything we're doing behind the scenes is to ensure that you have academic success. And it's all about progressing from quarter to quarter. But at the end of the day, it's about graduating, passing a licensure certification exam, but not just that, it's about finding a career path and something that you will be able to continue to elevate yourself. And I can tell you the best way to be a strong employee and to be a strong student is not to try to take those shortcuts that can seem like it'll save you time because in the end it doesn't. Because there's so much out there in terms of academic cheating options and things that we look at with IP addresses and having people take exams for you and
Mhm.
there's exam questions out on the internet that you can go find. It's almost impossible to maintain. It's very difficult to maintain test integrity sometimes. So it really comes down to the academic integrity of the student. And I think the reality is passing one test in your first or second quarter is not going to help you pass your licensure or certification exam. It's not going to help you when you're in a critical triage moment in an emergency room because you're not going to have time to go on ChatGPT or to Google an answer, right? Or to have someone else step in and answer it for you. So it's really important to put in the time, energy, and effort to be able to understand the knowledge, to retain that knowledge because there are some things that again and in the industries that we serve with a lot of our healthcare professional programs, there is no time, like I said, to go on the internet to figure out the answer because what we are doing is person to person, is caregiving, is being able to respond quickly in emergency situations. So I think that would be my biggest advice: is to put the time, energy, and effort in. Trust in the process. Trust in your faculty. Trust that there are hundreds of people in the background ensuring that your Canvas courses are set up and that we have looked at what are the best opportunities to make sure that you have success because what we want for you is the same as what you want for you and believe in that and know that because at the end of the day if every single one of our students is successful, finishes their program, passes their licensure certification exams and goes on to be a success, that's a success and a win for us. So our goals, when you walk in the door day one, our goals for you is the same as our goals for ourselves. And again, so being able to trust in that.
Yeah, I love that. Winning. It's great. Well, so back in episode 2 of the podcast, as I mentioned earlier, you recounted a scary and very harrowing tale of destruction of the city of Asheville during the 2024 hurricane that swept through. One of the themes for you at that time seemed to be about service to others. And you talked a lot about that, meaning helping, volunteering, and also the theme of staying connected to others. So, knowing where you are now, how do those same themes help you in the role of chief academic officer?
Sure. I believe in servant leadership. I kind of adopted more of an authentic leader style, but I am very invested in servant leadership and fully believe that we need to help others. And Kathleen, you kind of mentioned it earlier when you talked about when someone's having a tough day and there are a sea of arms to help you. And I think we all need that sometimes. And I think recognizing that and being there, I kind of joke that as a leader, sometimes I have to recognize that I'm not just the kind of person that throws a life preserver in. I jump in the water and kind of help push you up to make sure you're breathing, sometimes to my own detriment. So I have to be careful of that. But I truly believe that you need to be able to give that back. And whether that's in my office, in my community, and just seeing a need and jumping in where there is one. Again, being in my personal professional life, I think that's very, very important. And like I said, I truly believe in walking the walk and making sure that I demonstrate for others what I would want and need for myself. And some days I fall short, like all of us do. But the best thing is just kind of getting up the next day and doing it all over again, and maybe just doing it a little bit better. But also giving ourselves grace and giving others that. I think the reality of knowing where someone is, and sometimes that you might be having the best day, but the other person just had a death in the family and lost their best friend, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of having that reality. And I think a lot of that comes with getting older. I hate to say it, but it's real, because we experience a little more strife in our lives as we age. And obviously some people do younger. And I think understanding that and looking at a person as a whole, I think is very important too. So serving others can be as simple as telling somebody they have a great outfit or they look beautiful or opening a door or smiling really big at somebody that you don't know, right? It can be as simple as that or as big as let me just stop and be there for you with you. And again, also serving our community. I think that's so important. It's a big part of who we are at South College. I don't know if it's a well-known fact. I know we talk about service in our mission and it's a part of who we are, but every one of our departments at every one of our campuses actually is required to complete a community service project, but it goes so far beyond that. And that was something at South College I was very excited about. When I read about that on our website and I came and learned and lived it, it's amazing to have institutional support for community service and to be able to as a department go together and do service projects. And I see so many teams that we require one a year, but wow, they get out there and they work together, and sometimes we're able to involve our students in our community service, and that's even more rewarding, right? So kind of seeing that be supported from our chancellor, from all of our campus leaders, that's an amazing thing. And it's an amazing place to be and work where that's an important part of who we are as an institution.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I agree with something and a point you raised a few minutes ago regarding leadership. And I think that as leaders, that is something that's core and important as a pedigree of real leadership. And that is, of course, your willingness to be unpopular at sometimes as it may be to get things done. But on the other hand, it's also your willingness to put others before yourself, others before the things that you need to do and the things that you're accountable for, to put those folks in front of you and say, you know what, what do you need from me today? How can I help
Mhm.
you today? And that's, I think, one of the core tenets of leadership that sometimes I think people get the term manager and leader confused and conflated. They're not the same thing. And I love the fact that you mentioned servant leadership. It's so important. I think people say it sometimes and don't necessarily live it, but I love the fact that you are literally, to your point, walking the walk. You are living it exactly the way that it is created to be. And it's awesome. And I think as leaders, this is how you teach next generation leaders, is to demonstrate and show by action that leadership is a lot more than just telling people what to do. It's really about the action and your willingness to provide complete air cover for people around you, to give support, mentoring, direction, all of those things. So I love that. Okay, so let's go in a slightly different direction. One of your best skills, speaking of leadership, that I have observed is your ability to remain calm and create organization when there seems to be a little discord and chaos. Oh, teach me your ways. Can you speak about that to our students who need to learn that skill of the ability to remain calm and to create, most importantly, calm and centeredness where there seems to be maybe less calm and centeredness?
Yeah, I can, it's kind of it's funny to hear myself described that way because I jokingly say, I'm like a pinball machine sometimes. It's like ping, 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 and that's the direction I go. So that's kind of how I'm feeling internally. But yes, and it's important to have that to remain calm and with our students. When I have the opportunity, I don't as much in this role, but when I have the opportunity to meet with a student, leading with emotion, it is fitting in certain times in life, but the need to learn professionalism is also an important part of who we are, no matter what profession you're in. I think that is an important part of learning how to be in an industry, whatever it is, to be able to show that you have that ability to exude professionalism. And I think this is something I have to remind myself all the time. I have a daughter that's a college graduate, and I tell her all the time that I am 50 blank years. I'm not gonna say it on here, and I'm still learning, and I'm still growing, and I'm still changing, and I'm still finding ways to get better and to manage my own emotions, but I think, some good advice is in that you have a lot more of control of your actions and your reactions than sometimes we realize. I think oftentimes we are reactionary to someone else's their body language or what they're saying, and the reality is we have full and complete control of ourselves.
Yes.
And I think maintaining that and listening more than we talk, I think that is another important skill, which again, there's some days where I'm still trying to learn that. Some days I talk more than I listen. And I look back at those days and probably wish I would have listened a little bit more. So I think
Mhm.
that's another important skill to have.
I agree, and it's funny, I just had a conversation with my son who is also out of college and is in, Navy flight school, and he wanted to talk through a situation with me, and it was kind of ironic because as I'm talking to him last night and I'm giving him what I think is really awesome mom advice and executive advice about, "Hey, here's how I'd handle this," my husband is literally sitting across the table from me rolling his eyes because he knows that these are, well, maybe recent lessons for me. So I totally understand where you're coming from. But the nice thing is, for anyone listening, what you're hearing is the evolve of maturity that happens. And you don't know everything at at 30 or 40, and Danielle and I are not far away in age. So as you get older, the beauty is, particularly as a leader, that you're open to learning more about yourself. And I think, to your point earlier, your reaction to other people, your reaction and how you will let it affect you. You can't control somebody else's actions, but you absolutely can control how you react to it and where you go from there. So I love this topic so much, and I think it's great. And I think for anyone who is having that struggle, I think this is super important. All right, so let's get to the part that I know that students want to hear, and that is, when do students need you or need to speak to you? Or on the flip side, when is it maybe not a good thing that they hear from you?
Yeah, and that is different. I don't have the opportunity to speak to students as much as I used to, and part of that is because when there is a dismissal or disciplinary action, that I am the final level of appeal that a student has. So it's very important that I am not involved in situations early on, because I need to be very independent in my considerations of the student's situation or mitigating or extenuating circumstances at times. So I have to be purposeful that, if a student is having an issue at a campus, or they've had something where they've been maybe a occurrence that's been issued, or they've had a write up, I have to stay out of it. And I think sometimes I have to explain that I can't be involved at the earlier levels, because there's a likelihood that if their appeal continues, I have to be there then. But in terms of providing advice, or I love to run into a student, and like I said, I can have a conversation, but I have to also be very careful to protect our due process for students, for them. And I don't know sometimes if they realize that what I'm doing is making sure that I'm able to help them in the long run, and that there is a need for consistency in looking at appeals, in considering their situations.
Mhm.
Um, so oftentimes I don't get to talk to students as much now, but they don't really need to speak to me, and hopefully they don't, because oftentimes when it's at my level, it is not a positive situation. When a student really needs to speak with me, it's usually because something has gone sideways within their educational experience. But I know that and trust that we have amazing academic deans at the campuses, and those academic deans, I don't, I'm not with them every day. We're in 7 different states and we have 10 different campuses. So I don't see them every day, but I'm able to work with them. And I know for a fact that the academic deans are doing what they need. So oftentimes when a student reaches out, I have to tell them that they need to go back and work through the process with at their campus location first. And again, I think some of it comes down to trust, and trust that my belief in students, my belief in doing everything we can to help them outside of taking tests or doing assignments for them, that is what I espouse in my role to all academic leaders at the institution. And I hope that they are feeling that at the lowest levels. And if not, then they do have the right to appeal or file a complaint that I then will look at and be part of. But I really do have an open door policy. So when a student reaches out, I make every effort to at least give them an answer and send them in the right direction. But oftentimes I do have to send them back through what the process is to deal with their situation at their programmatic level, and then at the campus level, at the school level, if it's a school of nursing or professional studies. We have a lot of people before they need me, and I can tell you they're probably better off handling it at the lowest level possible. They'll be very happy if they can get to an outcome of resolution there, rather than attempting to escalate. Because I don't and I will not circumvent the process, because again, we do have due process, and every student affords is has the right to consistency in how we handle all of their situations, be it the good and the positive of graduation, or to the negative of a dismissal.
Yeah, I love that. So you're kind of like a judge. If you stop and think about it, you're kind of like a judge because the judge can offer some opinion and direction, but on the other hand, you have to do what's best for that person in front of you. And sometimes the student may not agree, but as the judge, you are there to kind of deliver the final decision based upon what you think is right and fair, and to your point within due process. So there you go. We'll just start calling you Judge Kwasnik, and maybe
No
there's an
problem. Yeah.
afternoon television show.
Yeah, and you know what? And I think what I want to tell students is that consistency is very important for me. So they have to realize and recognize sometimes, and I get it, because we all have a little bit of it's all about me, it's about how I feel, and I am looking at things from a different vantage point than what
Mhm,
your campus leaders are. So when I'm looking at things, I look at appeals or situations, and I'm having to make comparisons across how we handle this at every single campus, because all of our students deserve fairness and deserve equitable consideration for
mhm.
their individual situation. But at the same time, oftentimes it's not a very unique situation, because I've been doing this for 28 years. So I've come across a similar situation in my higher education career. Again, I have to look at fairness and equitable application of our policies and procedures. So the individual student thinks that it's about them only, but I have to look at it from a different vantage point.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So, speaking of campuses, now I can't ask you to pick a favorite campus, but what has been the best part about meeting your team at all of our campuses since you mentioned it?
I have been very fortunate to have visited every one of our campuses, and I those that I had not seen before, I made a real focused, intentional travel schedule so that I could be there. And I was actually in Dallas yesterday at our one of our newer campuses. I think that my favorite thing about traveling to the campuses and meeting with faculty is just the brilliance and the expertise that they all bring, and realizing and recognizing, wow, how much opportunity we have because of the I mean, if we added it all together, the hundreds and thousands of years of experience, right, that we have to
Hey,
be
we're
able
not
to,
that old.
it's amazing when I meet everyone and they all bring such uniqueness and such great experience to the table. And every time I go to a different campus, every one of our campuses, the culture is a little different or the people are a little different, but we're all here for the same reason, the same goals, and to support the same mission and vision. And I think that is exciting. So getting to learn from others, I think is so, so important for me in my role, and to get to know what makes Pittsburgh different from Indianapolis or Orlando. I think that is such an opportunity for me to
Mhm.
kind of and recognize the greatness that exists at every single one of those campuses.
Yeah, I love that, and you're absolutely right. Every campus, I find it's a little bit different, and it's obviously locations, it's a different everything. I agree with you. I love the fact that everybody's kind of hands in on the mission of, bringing in these great students and helping them find their step to the rest of their life, which I love. So, it may be a repeat from episode 2, but can you talk a little bit about your journey and how you got to South College?
Sure. So I actually was telling someone yesterday I was pre-law in my college time. I was pre-law, and then I also had declared education at one point too. So I was very on the fence of what I wanted to do. And then I graduated college, and I actually was planning to go into the nonprofit or the city government sector. So I earned a master's degree, Master of Public Administration. And to do that, I decided somebody said, "Hey, you go work at at a college or university, you can go to school for free." So I went and spoke to a former program director that I knew from my high school years, and got into a job working at a 501(c)(3) house within a university, which was down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where I'm from, Nova Southeastern University. And I was like, okay, best of both worlds. I kind of was interested in education. I get to be in the nonprofit side of education. I'm working in this K-12 program that was founded by Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's, and it was just really fun. And then I was in that for about 5 years, and then the university said, "Hey, we want you to kind of come more on the academic side, and we're gonna take that program and merge it with Broward County Public Schools, but we want you to stay with us. We think you should earn your doctoral degree." And I was like, "Wait, what?" Wasn't in the was not the plan. I always say the road to higher ed sometimes is a very curvy path where you're making U-turns all the time. I did not have college professor parents, so no one had worked in this industry before. So when they said that, I was kind of like, I just had a baby. Can I do this? Well, heck, why not? Right. So I started my degree and earned a doctoral degree, and then after that, became a director of internal communication and got to write my own job description for the first time, which was really exciting. And then my husband's job was moving us out of South Florida, so I became full-time faculty. And again, I mean, it just, life kind of, I followed my life pattern a little bit.
Mhm.
I didn't force myself into any certain role, and it turned out okay for me. And so when I ended up at South College, I had been at the university I was at for 20 years. And then I was able to kind of retire as faculty because I'd been there so long, but was nowhere near retirement age. So I went to work for my undergrad alma mater for about a year and a half, and then was kind of contemplating leaving higher ed for a moment. And I cannot tell you how happy that I did not. I had a couple job offers in the nonprofit sector, and one in a corporate training role. And I interviewed for a school I'd never heard of, assumed it was directional because South College was in the South, and I thought, okay, so I went and interviewed, and I really had no idea. I think it was my third interview. I met our chancellor, Mr. Steve South, and realized, okay, this is there's a family connection here. And he talked about his vision and what he wanted for his students. And at the time, we were opening our fourth campus in Atlanta, Georgia, and we were brand new under construction, and again it was an opportunity to create a culture, and I had never had that. I had been at an institution that had been there for a very long time in both my other two higher ed positions, and I had never had a chance to create a culture. So I went to work at our fourth campus opening, and that was 7 years ago, and I was there for 5 years, and then campus president in Asheville, and again have the very fortunate opportunity, like I talked about earlier, of being able to impact so many students and our faculty and staff. And so that's really how I got here. There was no maniacal plan, or there was no real plan, to be honest. I was one of
Yeah.
those college graduates that wasn't 100% sure what they're doing. I have a college senior right now that his sister was just devastated that he announced at senior night. He's a soccer player that what are you going to do after college? And his answer was figure it out. And she was
Oh,
appalled by that. I'm like, I'm okay with that. At 22 years old, I think it's okay to still be figuring it out. So
yeah.
I'm kind of excited because I think sometimes when you don't have such a planned journey, it allows you to take the scenic route, right? Sometimes, and to take a route you didn't expect. Because if you would have told, 20 something year old me that this is where I would be sitting in 2025, I don't know that I would have seen that path. So I think sometimes being open to opportunity is a really, really good piece of advice that I could give to the younger generation.
Yeah, I love that. It's so funny. We live parallel lives. My experience with the chancellor was exactly the same. I was asked to come in and interview, and I met this man, and he sat down with other people at the table and introduced himself as Steve South. And I remember the moment because in my head, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I get it." I think everybody has that, but he ended up becoming my boss. So there you go. And the other thing that I love that you said is, you're exactly right. Had you told a 24, 25-year-old me who was working in television news that I would be working for a large college and running marketing, I would have been like, "Yeah, right." I mean, it's so funny that where you think you are, and that's what, it's a big message to a lot of our students as they're listening. You're not gonna have all the answers at 18, 19, 22, 25, and sometimes you don't have them at 30 and 35 and 40 either, but that's okay. You've got the opportunity to grow, you got an opportunity to find your path and find your mission, so I love that. Alright, so a big question for you. You've now been in Knoxville for about a year, so what are your favorite places so far? And I wanna mention that I think you and I are probably the only ones here in Knoxville that don't wear orange, right?
So, yes, I am not from here. I was thinking, I think about that often because we have a lot of UT graduates around us, University of
Yes.
Tennessee. But being a South Florida girl whose high school colors were green and orange, and at University of Miami and a Miami Dolphins fan, I do not mind orange at all. So I'm happy to be able to rock some orange once in a while now that I'm here in Tennessee. And honestly, we moved here fully April 5th of this year, so it's been just about almost 7 months, and I sadly haven't gotten to see enough of Knoxville. I've got a couple favorite restaurants. I mentioned my son plays college sports, so we travel over to Asheville a lot to watch him play at UNC Asheville. So I keep going back to Asheville more than I am going out here. But we have some holiday plans. Both our kids are coming home and bringing some of their internet friends that are international, bringing them home for Thanksgiving. So we're
Nice.
gonna trek out to Dollywood or Pigeon Forge. We're gonna try to start seeing some of the sights around here in Knoxville. So
Yeah,
it is an
just don't
amazing
wear
time.
orange. Yeah, no, I get it. I'm from Atlanta, and orange is not my color wheel. It's just not happening. Alright. So what's your parting advice to all students? What's kind of like where do you wanna land for all of them listening?
I think I'm going to kind of readdress a couple of things I said earlier, which is to learn. And I'd be remiss to not say that, right? Being in this industry, but learn and not just learning in the classroom, but learn from the elevator conversations. Learn from when you meet a student. I was talking to someone else yesterday that works as a rad tech, and she said, I didn't really know anything about radiography, and was enrolled in school to be a nurse, and it was someone else that told me about what she was learning in her class, and I became very excited and realized there's so much more to healthcare than just nursing. And I think oftentimes we have a lot of students that don't know about other professions and other lucrative professions, honestly, that you can earn an associate's degree and have a great career in respiratory therapy or surge tech, and just really being open
Mhm.
to yes, have a plan. I have a list, I have a plan, but I also know that sometimes my day might take me in a different direction, and being okay to kind of pivot, I think is important. That is a lesson I think all of us learned during about 4 years ago, 5 years ago during COVID. And I think hopefully that's something that our students can take with us is being, like I said, have a plan, have a path, but being open to divert and taking the scenic route once in a while, because I sit here today knowing that I would have never had this plan for myself, but others saw something in me. So when I listened to those that said, "Hey, I think you can be an associate dean one day." I remember that I was still in my 20s, and I was kind of like, wow, I would really probably see that in myself. So really taking advice from others, seeing yourself how others see you, I think is important, and being open to take a different path or go into uncharted waters, I think is very important. And again, learn. There is a learning experience to be found every day, and whether that's about, oh, that's a cool way to carve a pumpkin, it's close to Halloween today that when we're recording, or whether it's, I didn't know about that career path, I'm gonna change my major. Being open to new experience, I think is important.
Yeah, I love that. All right. So the question I ask all of my guests, what kind of student were you in school?
It's funny, I talk about this in high school. I was very the mom of everyone, and I was the one that always knew what was due when. College, I had fun, but I made it through. I would not want to share with all of you my GPA because it probably wasn't the best, but I did. I was a college athlete myself, and I was a dual sport athlete, and had a little more fun than I probably should have some weeks. But you know what? That's okay. And then when I got into my master's degree and my doctoral degree later, again, unplanned, I was not planning to do either of those degrees. Once it applied more to what I was doing, I became a very, very strong student. And I believe that's also something that I take with me in how I try to shape your educational experience here, is that I really want that same feeling of application that our graduate level students feel, that I felt when I got into my master's program and my doctoral
Mhm.
program. I want that to happen at our undergraduate level also, because that is where I found success. And I think so oftentimes that we don't see the connection of what we're doing. And I think if we can make that connection more clear for our students. So again, I wouldn't want you to see my undergraduate GPA. It wasn't terrible. I made it through, but it's okay. And no one's asking to see my undergraduate GPA on a regular Friday night. No one
Well,
ever
we can
asks.
fix that.
It's a rare question to come up.
Oh, no, I love it, I love it. I always try to find a ladylike way to explain it. I always called myself a distracted student. I went to college in the middle of downtown Atlanta, so, a lot of distraction. So I called myself a distracted student, and that seems to politely suggest that, there were other things
It's
going on at
okay.
the time. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, there you have it. From the floods to determination to achievement and then to stamina. That is Chief Academic Officer for South College, Dr. Danielle Kwasnik, with a master class in Survive and Thrive. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, this was awesome. Coming up after the break, we'll talk about some tutoring we have and a few things you may not know that we have. Get ready to take some notes. Stick around. We'll be right back.
When you start your new career path at South College, you'll join students from different walks of life at varying stages in their lives. Many students are going back to school to finish degrees, while others are pursuing elevated education that will help them improve their potential in their current roles or for chasing a new direction. South College offers over 100 programs and concentrations with specialized focus on associate, bachelor's, master's, educational specialist, and doctoral degrees in healthcare, business, technology, education, and legal studies. We are regularly developing new academic programs based on local, regional, and national trends. Each curriculum is designed to promote development of knowledge and skills in the associated discipline as we challenge and support our students. South College is committed to providing intellectual, social, and professional development to a diverse student body. With locations in Knoxville, Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia, Asheville, North Carolina, Orlando, Florida, Indianapolis, Indiana, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Dallas, Texas, and Marietta, Georgia, as well as programs delivered through Competency-Based Education, or CBE, and online. We're here with you every step of the way, starting with the admissions process. To find out more, visit South College at south.edu. South College, where dreams find direction.
Welcome back. Hey, we all need a little help sometimes. And did you know South College has a very robust tutoring option that comes in many places? First of all, you can find all of the tutoring options right now in the student portal under the tutoring link. But underneath that, you have so many selections that are available. Here are a few. For our on ground students, there is a math lab, anatomy and biology tutoring, chemistry tutoring, tech lab, writing lab, physics tutoring, speech lab tutoring, and paper submission. And for our online students, you have similar options for math lab, anatomy tutoring, biology tutoring, chemistry tutoring, tech lab, writing lab, physics tutoring, electrical engineering, and technology tutoring. These are amazing selections, and we ask that you please direct any and all questions about South College tutoring resources to the South College tutoring coordinator, Mark Fetterman. You can find him at M. Fetterman. That's Fedderman at south.edu. South College also provides all online students with access to Tutor.com, which offers 24/7, no cost, one to one tutoring in 161 subjects. Log in to Tutor.com through Canvas and quickly connect with an expert tutor who can help you with whatever you're working on, anytime, anywhere, from any internet connected device. Oh, and one more thing. Did you know our amazing Alumni Association also has the ability to provide you a mentor who is a previous graduate in your program that can be made available to you? It's true. These former students have been in your shoes and they know exactly where you are and how you're feeling. Work with your student success advisor to see about arranging a former graduate and a mentor for you. Well, that's going to do it today. With 10 campuses in 7 states, plus online and CBE, there's a pathway for you at South College. Hope you enjoyed this latest episode of Live from South College. The Live from South College podcast is a production from South College Marketing. Thanks for joining me. If you love it, give it some stars, and you can always send us feedback by emailing us at southcollegepodcast@south.edu. Have an awesome day and let your dreams find direction. See you next time.